Hey guys, my name is Nerdrox, or Nerd, and I'm a relatively known LA in the LA community, and I want to talk about current LA, its problems, and bring up possible solutions which I think could make LA a better spec overall. I'm not a native speaker, so bear with me please, I'm trying my best, and obviously everything I say is just my opinion alone, and you can naturally disagree with what I say, and that's totally okay. I don't really care about subscribers or followers. I just want to talk about Ellie and bring my desperation to light. There's a little disclaimer though. Um, this will be on the more less quality side of things, since I just want to talk and not edit much. Also, this will not be a guide, and you will most likely not understand everything what I'm trying to say if you haven't played Ellie once. Firstly, I want to talk about Ellie's current state throughout Dragonflight, its rotation, playstyle, its defensive, and, jokingly, its utility. We started in Season 1 with a relatively generic tier set and a balanced rotation, which actually felt really good to play, even though we had issues with our defensive, utility, and obviously our talent tree, which at that point wasn't that obvious. But following Season 1, we had a Season 2 set, which, in my opinion, and that of most good ally players, was a really good and strong tier set with fluid rotation and a high skill ceiling, which offered a rewarding playstyle. Though, it had its issues with the requirement of a weak aura to play perfectly, which some, understandably, didn't enjoy much. We also still had issues regarding our defensive and utility, and obviously the talent tree, which we got forced into lightning due to the tier set. But here comes the real banger. Why many allies are upset. Season 3 introduced a set which heavily pushes you into the fire side of the tree and incentivizes you to a spammy playstyle of Lava Burst with little to no room for reward. The playstyle itself can be optimized, but to so little amount, RNG factors like crits, aftershock procs, or ascendance pox will overshadow it in almost every case. Blunt, boring, and unrewarding gameplay leads to a really boring gameplay loop, which many LE players hated and hate now because Season 4 got voted. Though, I can understand some people like it simply for visuals, and the fact little effort can put up big numbers. I call such builds dead builds. Builds that perform okayish with very little effort are very good for the game, honestly, but in my opinion should never be the top performing builds, which sadly in this case is. For players more invested in the spec, it gets boring really quickly. Overall, I wish Ella to be more rewarding to play, with space simplicity still intact, and be less spammy, but more rotational since the spec fantasy allows for literally weaving the elements, since we are elemental. Funny. I mean, the base problems of Ellie remain the same from BFA through Dragonflight. Offensive wise, we could really need an impactful offensive CD, since Ascendants and our elemental pet are just really undertuned and bad. For instance, there was a bug in which our fire ally didn't attack our target at all for its whole duration, and it wasn't even a 1% damage loss overall, which is just sad. Lava Burst stat scaling is still really bad, since even though our crits deal 250% damage, crit is usually not a stat we desire, since Lava Burst does not function like Chaos Bolt. Yeah, I don't know, man. Our defensives are also really bad compared to better performing specs, like Mage, Warlock, Augmentation, and even Hunter now. Hunter's incredibly tanky right now. Charges on Earth Shields, and therefore the requirement to refresh it on up to 2 targets, ideally, feels really outdated when you have stuff like Soul Link or Soul Leech for Warlocks. We need better passive survivability in form of a possible Earthshield damage reduction while it's up, but maybe more to that later, I don't know. Also from Shadowlands to Dragonflight, we lost a 40% defensive cooldown in form of our Primal Earth Ele, which we never even got a note or post on why. Which is also why a lot of Eles are upset, because it just feels like Ele gets very little to no attention at all. Utility-wise, well, we're on the same boat as our Resto Shaman colleagues. We have no raid buff, and therefore there's basically no reason to think about bringing in Ele or Resto. We are one of the few specs in the game which are heavily dependent on tuning, and tuning alone, to justify a raid spot, even in lower world ranks apparently. Our utility is just very niche, to say the least. For instance, there are very few times Poison Cleanse or Windrush are good utility buttons in a raid environment. Don't get me wrong, Windrush is an okay CD. But with Raw in the game, I don't know. And even if you would need a Windrush, everything you could bring an Enhancement Shaman could also bring. So why bother, since Enhance is bringing a raid buff, right? We also simply cannot really swap specs, since swapping from Ele to Enhance is inherently different from, for instance, swapping to Demo from Affliction Warlock. Since, well, swapping from Rangecaster to Melee is different. With gear and rotation and playstyle. Now we get to the main issue in Dragonflight, the elemental talent tree and its talents, which only got more apparent the further we got into Dragonflight. The tree is heavily unbalanced, forcing you in either the lightning side or the fire side of the tree, depending on outside sources like the Season 2 or Season 3 tier set. It's not an Ele only issue that tier sets force you into certain talents, but for Elemental it's more dire, since it literally forces you into entire side of the tree, which a generic set like Season 1 didn't really do. Which it's why Season 1 was a good set overall. It was more generic and more to the ground, so you could just choose your build path. Then we have another major flaw. In the tree, of course, which are our horrible capstones, paired with the incredible amount of 2-point nodes in the last tier of the tree. We have 23 available nodes in the last tier of the tree, which we can choose 10 from. Yeah, I don't know about that. The best capstone by far is the choice node of Primordial Surge and Splintered Elements, which is only good if an outside source like tier set pushes you into fire. Also you have Mountains Will Fall, but Mountains Will Fall should be baseline since Legion, I think. But choice nodes like Lightning Rod and the second Stormkeeper charge isn't really a choice, since one talent is literally so bad you would never consider picking it, with the other being only good when you get forced into it by either the Season 2 tier set or maybe other outside sources, like Stormbringer could, following. But I'm not gonna talk about hero talents in this, I think. Which obviously incentivize Lightning playstyle. And last but not least, Windspeakers and Skybreakers are also just really bad talents. Since, firstly, Windspeakers just fuels into the Lava Burst spam, and Skybreakers just buffs Flame Shock and Fire Elemental, which both are abilities that don't deal damage and are not impactful. As well as the clear winner of bad capstones, Further Beyond. Before its nerf, it just promoted a degenerate playstyle, which was even worse than we have now. And after its nerf, it's just a really bad capstone, the worst by far. The sad thing is, if you compare Enhance to Ele, Enhance feels more like Ele than Ele does. But why exactly is Season 3 Ele gameplay that bad, blunt and boring? It's quite simple actually. It's a single 2-point talent node. It's rolling magma. Rolling magma, combined with the tier sets and primordial surge, incentivizes you heavily to press lava burst, to press more lava burst, which obviously leads to its gameplay loop of spamming lava bursts. The spammy nature of this spam, of this lava burst pressing spam, leads to a tuning issue, which forces lava burst to feel less impactful and fun than it was back in, for instance, Wrath or Cataclysm, where it was a little nuke button on a CD, which was generally fun to press. For instance, like Chaos Bolt, Soulfire, Hardcast Pyroblast, for instance. The required low tuning of Lava Burst also makes Ascendance a very bad cooldown, even if you take 2 minutes Ascendance and with 50% haste talent. It just... The damage doesn't come from the ability itself, but the amount of times you press it. It's just ridiculous. Anyway. There's also a slight issue with Ice Fury. Just to kind of knife it on, I guess. I personally enjoy the button, and I think it saved Dragonflight Ele from being a complete mess. But many players hate IF, Ice Fury, for being a button bloaty button, which essentially just adds 2 buttons to your rotation. And it has a very boring interaction and also a very lame animation. For the AoE part, I just keep it short. I want to point out that ground-based duration AoE, like Earthquake or Rain of Fire, feel horrible and are heavily outdated and require a fix on how L is supposed to deal uncapped AoE damage for the future. But overall, these are pretty dire problems. But me and the L community have thought about a couple of solutions that could solve it or make it worse. It's not thought through 100%. Firstly, we have to remove lava burst spamming sources. Like, Rolling Magma, the winner, or the Season 3 tier set. That leads to an automatic increase of the value of a lava burst, which makes it, therefore, more impactful to press again, which also leads to Ascendance becoming a better cooldown since lava burst is allowed to hit more per cast, because we can't spam it as much outside of Ascendance. Also, as a side note, please, just make lava burst scale with crit, the same as Chaos Bolt does. Don't give us a passive for more crit damage only to not really beat crit, please. Also, a good suggestion from me is, I think, is to make Primordial Wave a bit of a longer cooldown, like 1 minute or 1.5 minutes, which buffs Lava Burst a bit more with Primordial Surge, just to make it a CD for fire, parallel as Stormkeeper is for lightning. I think that's a good idea, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Or be more hardcore and even think of making Lava Burst a spender at this point, and changing Elemental Blast to its Shadowlands version, being a builder, providing stat buffs. Most allies really want Lava Burst to feel impactful and like a nuke again, like a mini nuke. That's just missing. Regarding Ice Fury, there's only one simple solution I could think of. You could make Ice Fury more rewarding by redesigning it as a heavy-hitting spender alongside either Lava Burst or Earthshock and Elemental Blast that buffs your next 2 to 4 Frost Shocks with extra damage and maybe an extra effect, I don't know. But I don't really know how to make Ice Fury better for some players. I don't really know. Now for AoE. For AoE, there's only one solution I could think of to make it better. It's either you code... I hope Blizzard codes Earthquake like Ravager, so it follows the target, or completely abandon the idea of Earthquake and go back to a Fire Nova spending type of playstyle with the interaction of still spreading flame shocks in AoE and unleashing nukes with each press of Fire Nova, while you build Maelstrom with Chain Lightning to spend it on Fire Novas. Or, another hardcore idea, make Earthquake a totem, which is invulnerable, and you could replace it with Totemic Projection to play around moving tanks or Sanguine, but I don't know, that's just an idea on the side. Also, Ancestral Guidance is a good cooldown, and I wish Earthshield had either a possibility to passively gain charges or a passive damage reduction attached to it, since pressing Earthshield every 9 damage events on 2 targets is really tiring. Or make it a more impactful CD, like give it the 30-second CD and make it like Barrier for Mages, I don't know. Something. Just Earthshield currently just feels terrible. Also the Farsi node is just terrible. Raid buff wise, there's not much to say. We could use Ice Fury Totem from TBC as a parallel to our Enhancement brother's Wind Fury Totem, or simply Elemental Oath from Wrath, even though I personally think bringing more raid buffs into the game is bad overall. Really, that's, I don't know, just so much. In conclusion, LA needs a lot of work in almost every area of its kit to feel good and unique again. With pushing LA in either nature or fire isn't really the fantasy of the class, which is why I really hate the hero talent trees, which straight up pushes us into either fire or lightning again, without the tier set. Just the general idea is to spam lightning or fire, which is really bad. And therefore, many players, including me actually, already abandoned LF for this season. And hope it gets a lot better in the War Within, but in the end we can just pray, right? It is very possible I forgot something. Important even. But yeah, I don't know. LF just feels really bad at the moment. If you have any interesting ideas to add or completely disagree with some of my takes, please comment and let's give Ella a choice. Thank you for watching, guys. I'm out. Peace.